Greetings, my little maggots. My name is Rot, and welcome back to my channel. And if you're new here, then hi, hello, nice to have you with me today. This video is going to be a bit random, a bit more out of left field than my usual content, but I really wanted to talk about this, and I feel like I have a lot to say. But before we get into it though, thank you to Pisco and Astraluna for becoming members on Ko-Fi. If you'd like to become a member for some extra perks, or if you'd just like to donate one time, then the link to my Ko-Fi will be down in my card with my other socials. Thank you all for being here. So, social media. Kind of a hot topic, if you will. As social media and online marketing has become increasingly more accessible in the last 20 years, especially in the last decade to an increasingly younger demographic, the amount of young artists with dedicated accounts and full portfolios has increased many times over. Many artists pour their blood, sweat, and tears into their creations, and when they post it to a wider audience, can be sharing their innermost passions with the world around them. Frankly, this can be a wonderful and inspiring thing. The ability to share your passions with others and make friends and accumulate fans is a beautiful side effect of more artists becoming well-known online. If there's something you like, no matter how small, there's bound to be at least someone out there dedicated to creating art, either written or visual, about that thing. We get the benefit of being able to see all of this beautiful work around us at all times, and because of its accessibility, we can experience seeing art from people who are much younger and more far away from us than we would have ever thought possible before the rise of the internet. Art is a luxury item, but is still an important one. It can comfort the disturbed, inspire the young, rejuvenate the old, and just be a pleasant thing that someone smiles at while doom-scrolling through their hellscape of a Twitter feed. People on a wider scale are now able to post online and gain enough of a following to get paid and supported for creating the things that they love, which is amazing. However, despite the positives brought about by the increased accessibility of art online, there are also quite a few downsides, and this is especially the case in my opinion for younger and smaller artists, or at least more inexperienced ones. In the oversaturated but also heavily inspiring and skilled world of digital art, many artists, younger or otherwise experienced, I think, are prone to feeling really down on themselves, and well, as someone who used to be a younger, smaller, and pretty bad artist online, and as someone who has posted that work since I was like 13, I have my own experiences that I feel are worth sharing, hopefully some that can help and inspire others that are or were in my position as well. Now, though I personally don't see myself as particularly, good or influential or whatever, or, even deserving of any of the following that I have, especially compared to the other artists in the art community that I look up to, I also realize that I currently speak from what many would see as a place of privilege. A few months back, I hit 10k subscribers, and that is a crazy milestone to me, and something that I also intensely appreciate from the bottom of my heart. However, being that I've been posting art for years and only really found any success less than a year ago, I know what it is like to be surrounded by all of these skilled people and to only have 10 followers and get 1 or 2 likes on each art post. So let's delve into that, shall we? I began posting art online in early 2017, right before I turned 13 years old. Now prior to that point, I was already a well-established artist in my own personal real life and among my friend circles. I was the doodler who drew Vocaloids in class in 6th grade, and had earned the weird weeb art kid reputation in my school. I also loved artwork ever since I was younger, see my art relationship history video, and became instantly fixated on it. I would call art my #1 special interest. Above any fandom or any game or anything else, I love art and am obsessive about it to a degree in which many people around me often do not understand. I've definitely seen friends in the past raise a brow or two at me drawing when I'm upset or pushing myself to work on my art when I've noted I'm burned out. Though it can be frustrating sometimes, specifically when I'm making art for business-related reasons and am not really feeling passionate about what I'm drawing, I will say that I tend to get irritable and upset if I don't draw for even just a day or two. My brain wants me at that drawing tablet all damn day, bitches. That may have seemed like a bit of a tangent, but I feel like it was necessary to illustrate how much my art means to me, because I would imagine many of you artists in the audience feel the exact same way. This may not be true of everyone, of course, but I would imagine most artists and animators online start out just because they're genuinely passionate about their work. And in the case of some neurodivergent people are actively hyperfixating on their art or have it as a special interest. So considering how much my art means to me, I completely understand the pain that many people feel when that art that they poured hours into, their heart and soul into, and love so dearly is seen by very little people and has 1 like. Now, at the risk of sounding like a boomer here, as wonderful as social media can be for sharing art, it also has incredible pitfalls, and this particularly shines in the analytics and data department. Because of the way that social media is generally structured, many people, especially children, as unfortunate as that is, become obsessed with numbers, views, likes, and followers. As a little side note here, I will be focusing on, more younger, child creators in this video, because I feel like they are the most affected group in these kinds of situations, but also note that when I say kids, this stuff can apply to adults as well. You see, when you combine a young, developing artistic mind with a world that defines their self-worth by how much attention they get, and also have a plethora of other creators that are skilled and successful in the field that they crave to be successful in, you get disaster. Now, I don't exactly want to just project my own insecurities and personality flaws onto literally everyone else watching. I don't really know if everyone else is as motivated by attention and external validation as much as I was as a kid, and still somewhat am now, unfortunately. But I can tell you that, when I was a child, posting my art online was extremely difficult and anxiety-inducing. Up until recently, I had very little followers on any of my socials, and was often ignored by the wider art community. I had characters and passions that I sunk my heart and time into, completely ignored by other people. And, well, the envious cherry right on top of the self-hatred sundae was seeing people around me succeeding. Not everyone, but at the time it felt like everyone. You know how mental illness kind of warps your worldview. I've seen many an artist grow around me as I stagnated in follower count. I even had this one friend who had several times the following that I did when we were growing up. I met them when I was 12 and they were 13. And for years until our friendship drifted apart, I saw them succeed. I saw that person become good friends with a large YouTuber I liked because they drew him fan art that was really good, and then they made good friends in that YouTuber's community because their art was hella good. And it wasn't just them that seemed to be succeeding while I was not. This is probably some wild shit to confess to, but when I was younger, I used to specifically follow artists around my age, follower count, skill, and who ran in similar artistic circles, not just to look at their art, but also to obsessively monitor their follower counts. If they were growing slower than me, I would feel accomplished, I was on the right track, making progress, but if they were gaining more quickly than I was, I would begin to feel inadequate and would feel deep envy and sometimes animosity, but also intense shame about that sort of malice that I felt. I also used to draw a lot of specific things for the sake of getting more traffic and attention to my art pages, and I really regret all of that. So, I am no longer currently a fan of Hello Boss for, many reasons that are not at all relevant to this video, but back when it was just the first few episodes coming out, I would rapid fire produce a fuck ton of Hello Boss and has been fan art because when I drew those characters, people would follow me and ask to submit my art to groups and comment and say that my art was cool and whatnot. I didn't even really like the show that much, nor did I really like drawing the characters, but getting 100 favorites on DeviantArt for drawing FireAlpaca a few times was worth it to pass me. I sold my soul to Vivian Medrano's Storytime. All jokes aside though, I used to draw that and quite a lot of anime fan art for the sake of getting attention. None of it was art that I was passionate about making, but I pushed myself to make those things because I desperately needed that validation from other people. In my head it was like, if I couldn't get enough likes, if my follower growth slowed, if I didn't pump out content fast enough, people would forget about me and oh, no one cares about me anyways. My art must suck because this post only got 7 likes. I haven't even gotten 1 new follower this week. Fuck, I just realized I lost a couple. This means everyone hates me and I'll never make anything good. That and other thoughts a lot worse than that would plague my mind pretty constantly. I was perpetually in that, just continuous state of anxiety about social media for years. I would crack under pressure. A small mistake in my art was something I would crucify myself over. And hey, if you're an artist there in the audience who struggles with the same kinds of things, know that you're not alone. As I mentioned a little while ago, I know that a lot of you smaller artists might look at me and think that I've succeeded on some sort of level. I'm at a place where I can put out content that, just consistently has a number of people that genuinely care about that work, and I even get paid for my art when I do commissions, and I earn some revenue from those videos. I will not deny any of this. I'm certainly in a privileged position, and it matters that people are genuinely interested in whatever I've got to say. Now, if you remember that Imposter Syndrome video I created about a year ago, yeah, I've improved a lot mentally since that time. Not in every way, my general mental health has probably declined substantially, LMAO, but my relationship with my platform and my relationship with my art has improved drastically, and I no longer struggle too much with imposter syndrome. I still do have backslides occasionally, though nowadays it's less about the quality of my art, much more about things like my videos that I'm not as confident in. However, I will tell you all that the feeling that I get when I only get 100 likes on my Instagram posts is the exact same feeling that I used to get when I only got 7. With all of that personal background out of the way though, I wanted to make this video as a shout out to the young artists that are struggling with all of this shit right now. Artists that feel dissatisfied with their online performance and blame their work or themselves for not being good enough. Artists that see other skilled creators on their platform that have what they wish they had and feel hopeless or envious. Artists that have been sucked into that terrible, horrible, toxic social media hole that forces you to base your value as a creator or even as a person on the validation from strangers in the forms of numbers and stats. I see you, I hear you, and I know what it's like. Now, I don't want to make this video just as an I hear ya fam kind of video, as important as understanding and patience can be on its own. I actually also want to provide some genuine advice to people watching so that hopefully you can start to have more of a positive relationship with your art and your online presence. So I want to talk about some general things that I did that helped me to become less dependent on social media numbers and validation and growth. Number 1, don't obsessively monitor the follower accounts of others to compare your success to theirs like a weirdo. Okay, that one was a little bit specific. I don't really think that most people were like I was, just watching others' success around them like a stalker. Regardless, my point stands as a general, don't compare yourself to other creators. My past video on comparison like this was actually more about self-deprecation and devaluing yourself by attacking your art and insulting yourself, but I really want to talk about how toxic comparing yourself to other people can be. I'm not talking about comparisons like, oh, look at this cool artist, I like their style, I'm going to take some inspiration from their work and implement it to mine so ours are more similar. I'm specifically referring to comparing the value of your art and your skill level to others, as well as measuring their success and putting it up beside your own. Comparing your own numbers to another person's is inherently unhealthy for both of you, and it can be a very toxic thing to do. Number 2, never ever draw things just for the sake of attention and not because you genuinely want to make those things. I've noticed that many artists over the years lean into suggestive art and NSFW content not because they want to make it, but because NSFW gets clicks. Now this is extra concerning when it comes to minors drawing NSFW to get attention. See my past video on that subject if you want a more fully formed opinion. However, regardless, it's important that you focus on creating what you want to create, and you shouldn't force yourself to make fan art or draw content you're uninterested in or uncomfortable with for the sake of likes. It will only lead to a negative relationship between you and your art. Trust me, if people like and respond to content that you didn't like creating more than the stuff that you did like creating, it can hurt big time and lead to unhealthy dynamics between you and the thing you're supposed to feel passionate about. As an example from my own life, I used to be very sanitized and more visually all kitty-like prior to revamping my channel aesthetic. Not being true to myself by creating art in the way that I wanted to, vastly damaged my relationship with my YouTube videos. When people said that they liked my old videos, I was really upset. Number 3, celebrate milestones, but don't become obsessed with or fixated on growth and improvement. I want to clarify that I don't think that it's bad to necessarily be motivated by growing. Setting goals and working to reach them is great, but you shouldn't be beating yourself up for failing to reach a goal or berating yourself if someone else reaches that goal before you do. I would recommend just focusing on setting reasonable goals and achievements. Start small and try to keep your mind on track with your own growth and accomplishments, not those of someone else. It's also important to recognize and appreciate and celebrate your own accomplishments without becoming fixated on them. If you learn how to draw something new, or if you're proud of a piece you made, celebrate those accomplishments. It doesn't make you swallow-headed or a narcissist or something to acknowledge that you did a good job on something. Just remember that the art you create doesn't always have to be perfect or a sign of growth to be worth making. Sometimes you just gotta create things that make you happy on occasion, and you don't always need to focus on improving. Finally, and this is probably both the most important tip and also the most difficult thing to overcome, don't base your self-worth or the worth of your art on the opinions of others, whether those opinions are negative or positive. Basing your motivation to create on how other people receive and feel about what you create is a damaging mindset. You should neither give up when someone insults you, nor should you make art specifically to seek out validation. Make it for yourself and accept critique if you feel it necessary, but don't stake your will and motivation to make art based on others' takes on it. This is not to say that you can't feel happy when someone compliments you or be offended if someone insults you. Feel how you want to feel about critique, whether it's positive or negative. However, basing your creative process specifically on what other people think is not really the best way to go about it. You should make things that you want to make and focus on impressing or improving for yourself and not really for other people. With all of that out of the way, I hope this video is helpful to some of you in the audience that might be struggling with some similar feelings lately, or was just otherwise interesting and not just super boring. I hope you all enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching. If you want to see my art outside of my YouTube videos and streams, click the link to my card below where you can find all of my social media linked. Have a nice rest of your day, everyone, and I will now bid you all adieu.